So next up, I would like to introduce a Bernie brother of ours and a Bernie bro in the best kind of way. This man has been with us the entire campaign, fighting for Bernie Sanders to win the primary, fighting for other candidates who have sprung up in the Bernie Revolution to run for office. Stephen Jaffe was one of the first wave of Bernie-crats to stand up when Bernie said, "We need an army to run for office." Stephen Jaffe did not wait a second. He filed. He was ready to go. Folks, I want you to join me in warm welcome for a man that is going to be more of a feminist than the woman who is our U.S. Senator right now, who wants to give wealthy, powerful men a pass for sexual abuse in office. That's what we call a second wave feminist, folks. That's what we call a glass ceiling feminist, folks. That's what we call a woman who only cares about other women who are at her economic and social position. And we are saying no more. Enough is enough. You say what you mean, and you mean what you say. And we know that Stephen Jaffe is going to do that as the next senator from the state of California. That's next election.
Thank you. I'm working on some new stuff, so I may look at this, but I'm going to depart from what I was going to say, because I just had kind of an epiphany while I'm sitting here listening to Jaffe and Gail. And the epiphany I had is, it's obvious I agree with 100% of Jaffe's platform. I agree with 100% of Gail's platform. The two of them agree with 100% of each other's platform. And it doesn't do, and I would speculate that all of you, or almost all of you sitting here, agree with everything both of them have to say, and would probably agree with everything I have to say. So what I thought of, and it goes back to your question, back to, was it Jaffe or Gail, about what else can we do? That's a really important question, because money is important, but time is equally important. And Gail has been talking about going out, well, we want to get these petitions. Well, you know what? That's something that's real and substantive that people can really do. And you don't have to live in the district where you do it. You do it where you want to. Do it where your heart takes you. I got to go out and get 3,000 or 4,000 signatures to get on the ballot, so I don't have to pay. Okay? I need feet on the ground. I need hands on the doors. That is the kind of thing you can do. Now I'll start. I'm Stephen Jaffe. I'm running for the 12th District of California for the United States Congress. You all know who my opponent is. If you don't, talk to me privately. So why am I here in Contra Costa County? My district's 2 counties away. So why is this guy standing here talking to a group of people that are not in his district for the most part? I'll tell you why. Because my election against Nancy Pelosi is the most important congressional election in the United States. And it's not because I'm Mr. Wonderful or who I am, because this is the first time I've run for office. It's because of who my opponent is. She is the symbol, the icon, the incarnation of the corporate elitist establishment that everybody in this room wants to take down. And when I finish strongly in the primary, and I will, I expect to finish a strong second, and when I defeat Ms. Pelosi in the general, that is going to send an incredible shockwave all across the nation that encourages every progressive who ever thought of running for office to do it. They're going to say, if this guy Jaffe could take down Nancy Pelosi, well, hell, I'm going to go run, and I'm going to try to take somebody else down. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm talking to you, and I very much appreciate the invitation to do so. I'm running for the 12th district because I want to give a voice in Congress to a very important constituency, which is the city of San Francisco, which presently has no voice there. It has no voice there. The person that represents the people of San Francisco has forgotten she represents the people of San Francisco. She perceives herself to be a national figure and conducts herself accordingly. She collects millions and millions of dollars from corporate donors, and then she sells her vote and votes the way they want her to, and when she gives that money away to other Democrats, she gets them to do what she wants them to do. She is completely out of touch and disconnected from her constituents. She lives in a bubble of wealth, entitlement, and privilege, and she has no way to relate to the people she is supposed to be representing. Now, I planned in here to go through all my issues and show you how I'm different from her. I'm not going to do that. I've got this really nifty brochure over there. If you pick it up, the inside here has got all my issues listed and where I stand on them. And I'm pretty sure we all agree on most of those. So I'm not going to preach to the choir. The only one I will address, because it's the one that I get asked about most frequently, is single payer. When I ask people in San Francisco, what's the most important thing to you, it's single payer. I am 100% for Medicare for all, no hybrid fix of Obamacare. I want Medicare for all. It is doable, and it's doable and it is workable. And how do I know it's workable? Because Medicare works. Medicare works, and all I am proposing, or will propose, is that the structure of Medicare be expanded to cover the rest of us. And it will work. Why? Ms. Pelosi here, she lives in a district where, from my estimate, and I've been walking around for several years, talking to thousands of people, I estimate between 70 and 80% of the people I talk to want single payer. How can the representative of a district where 70 to 80% of the people want single payer oppose it? And she not only opposes it, she affirmatively acts to block it. How does she do it? She refused to endorse 562. She refused to sign on to H.R. 676, pending in the House now, for single payer. She refused to endorse Bernie Sanders' Senate Bill 1804. I remember it right. And why does she do it? Because the money she takes in from for-profit insurance companies, from big pharma, and from healthcare providers, they tell her we have a very big stake in making sure single payer never comes into existence. It never becomes the law. So she takes the money and she sells her vote. I mean, I could go down a whole list. I want to abolish superdelegates. There's a whole list of things that I want to do, and I urge you to look at the brochure. Otherwise, I'll be up here 2 hours going through them. All right? So, now I got to talk about something that happened today, and then I'll make my pitch. Today, Ms. Pelosi was on Meet the Press. She was, who was it that tried to do her? Chuck? Chuck. I named Chuck. Forget his last name. He asked her, what do you think of this Kanye's business, where he has now been accused of sexually harassing a number of women, using taxpayer money to pay for the settlements, and then cloaking them in what are called as NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, to buy their silence. Now that's exactly what I've done for a living for 46 years. I've been a civil rights employment lawyer. I know how these things work. I represent employees only. And when you want to get a settlement, the employer will always extract a confidentiality agreement, which should be illegal. And that's another. So that's what Congress has been doing. He's been taking taxpayer money, and now it's all coming out. Now, here is a wonderful opportunity for the minority leader to step up and say, that's wrong. Did she do it? No. She defended him. She defended him. She said, how many accusers are there? Was it just one or just two? Like that's like saying, how many murders or rapes were there? Just one or just two. She belittled it and dismissed it. She called Conyers an icon of the country. She said that he is entitled to due process, and so are the women. What do the women need due process for? They're not accused of anything. Okay? And this is a really good example that's no more than about 9 or 10 hours old, where I'm different from her. I completely condemn all forms of sex harassment. I have represented hundreds and hundreds of people over the last 46 years who have been accused of sex harassment, mostly male on female, but let me tell you, I tried the very first case in San Francisco, straight male versus gay male. I think it was the first one ever tried in San Francisco in the mid-90s, and I won that trial. Okay? There have been gay against gay. There have been straight against gay. I mean, every combination of sexuality you can imagine. Women on men. A lot of people laugh, but I'll tell you what, when it happens, it's not funny. It's not funny, and it does happen. So I condemn it absolutely and uniformly, and Ms. Pelosi should have done the same damn thing, and she won't. All right? So now I get to my pitch. There's an old saying, money is the megaphone of the message. That's in politics, that is unfortunately true. Like my colleagues, public financing of campaigns, I agree 100%. But until that happens, I need people like you and people who are in the district to help finance the campaign. Now it's getting better because 20 years ago, money was everything. The only thing you could spend money on in politics were TV commercials. And if you couldn't do that, you're done. Now with social media, everything's changed. Not everything. A lot of things have changed. It is possible to get a message out with much less money than it used to be. Because you can go on Facebook, Twitter, and all the other ones I don't know anything about, but my wife does. And you can get the message out a lot greater than you used to be able to do it when you didn't have the money. But it still matters. There's travel expenses. There's rental expenses. My fellow candidates know what it's like. So I ask you, I want your money in return. There's a lot of people who write me when I ask for money and they say, you know, Stephen, I'm not employed. I don't have any money. I can't give you money, but I really like you and what you do. And I have been telling those people, and there have been several hundred of them, send me $1. Send me $1. Make your statement. Get on the record. And it works. And they get on the record, they start getting the emails, they talk to other people. The other thing, to answer your question, you can do, besides petition stuff, pass the word. Talk about it. Talk to your friends. Talk to your family. Hey, you know, I was out in Contra Costa, I went to this meeting. I heard this guy, Jaffe, he's from San Francisco. The networking with 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon are real. It will reach people who are constituent voters and vice versa. I talk about Gail and Jamaica all the time. So, and it does work. It does work. So that's my pitch. I'd be glad to listen to any questions. There you go.
All right. If he equates raising money with doing completely out.
Absolutely. In fact, it is, I would say, the absolute inverse. Raising money from corporations is making sure Congress does not do the people's business. That's making sure corporations do. So, anybody else? Yes, sir.
Tell us your electoral strategy for winning District 12 San Francisco against that up-and-coming Nancy Pelosi.
Feet on the ground and hands on the door. Coming to meetings like this. Nancy Pelosi has not debated an opponent since 1987. Let me say that again. Nancy Pelosi has not debated an opponent since 1987. She doesn't do town halls. She does these sham CNN town halls in secret locations with pre-filtered questions and pre-filtered audiences. If I can get her, and I intend to make it very difficult for her to avoid this, if I can get her to come debate me, it's going to be a much changed situation. I've been trying jury cases for 46 years. I know how to debate, and I know, and I think actually I talk to people better than I just give speeches. I don't like to listen to speeches, but I love the exchanges with people. So that's part of my strategy. Mostly it's getting out and meeting people, which I have been doing. Getting out and meeting people face to face and talking to them. She lives, when I say she lives in a bubble, she lives in a bubble. She doesn't do that. Anybody else? Yes?
How many doors do we have to knock on in your district? All
Your
of them.
signature?
In other words, if we have to knock on how many doors, how many voters in your district?
There is about 300,000 or 400,000 voters. Just under 300,000. There's a question that really matters in the primary. The primary, California has a top 2 primary. That means that there's only one primary, and everybody in every party runs it. And the top 2 finishers then run off against each other in the general election. I very much expect to finish second. I want to finish, intend to finish, a strong second. Every other candidate then will drop off the ballot. Peace and Freedom, Green, Republican, NPP, they're all gone. Those are all my votes. And if I can finish a strong second in the primary, those additional votes are going to boost me into genuine, real competition with the incumbent. And that's how I'm going to beat him.
How many doors do we have to knock on to get to your candidate?
Nancy got, last time, about 80% of the votes. I intend, my opponent, or her opponent at that time, was an NPP candidate who raised about $4,000 the entire year and ran it from his kitchen table. I'm running a very professional campaign. I'm the first candidate to take her on from within the Democratic Party. People are taking me very seriously. I've been on Fox National News twice. Not because I agree with Fox News, it's because they dislike Pelosi so much. They're trying to bait me into saying something I didn't want to say. So I do think I'm going to need between 3,000 and 4,000 signatures to get on the ballot. That's the first hurdle. 3,000 or 4,000. So if I get 100 volunteers, I need each volunteer to commit to 300 to 400 signatures over about 5 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks period, which is not insurmountable.
Nancy Pelosi was on the CNN town hall before she started to control those things. A millennial ads said to her that millennials aren't afraid of the word socialist. And she immediately knee-jerked, we're capitalists.
That young man is named Trevor Hill. He is a friend of mine, and he's a supporter of mine. He's from Chicago. And the way he did that was she required they turn in their questions first. So she would not get any unexpected questions. Well, he turned in a phony question. Then when they called on Trevor Hill to ask the question, he gave him the one you just mentioned. Okay? And Nancy does not tend to answer unexpected questions well. And that's all she could come up with, and now it's kind of an iconic statement.
Good, Trevor.
I'll tell one more socialism story, then I'll sit down. When I was in Fox News the first time, they got me on, I think the show is called Fox and Friends, it's in the morning. None of you should be familiar with that.
You can hear about it.
Yeah, right. And the guy was interviewing me, and he was trying to bait me into saying something really horrible about Pelosi that later could be used against me, and he couldn't do it. And after about 2 minutes, he decided, well, I'm going to turn on this guy. So he looks at me and he says, isn't it true that you're a socialist? And he pretty much said it just like that. And I said, we are all socialists. Every single one of us. I am, you are. I said, do you like Social Security? Do you like Medicare? Do you like your library, your fire department? Do you like your roads taken care of? And I explained to him, every time the government pools its money and uses it for the betterment of the people as a whole, that is socialist economics. And that's shutting up. Thank you very much.
Tell our viewers out in the great state of California how they can donate to your campaign. One more time, loud, clear.
Absolutely. Donate at Jaffe, J-A-F-F, oh, excuse me, rewind, start again. Donate.Jaffe for Congress with the number 4.com.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. We got a candidate to knock Pelosi out, and you guys can tell I want to knock Jaffe out too, right? Okay. All right. That'll be the next meeting. Okay. So.